As an artist, should you fear being replaced by AI? AI seems to be promoted and plastered almost everywhere you look at this point. It doesn't matter the type of art that you do or the medium that you partake in. It seems like writers, illustrators, painters, DJs, musicians, there's a program, application, software tailored specifically for you so that it can help you do the work for you, help you increase your output. And it's easy to get dragged down, feeling apathetic, mortified, enraged, violated even, for artificial intelligence to have the audacity to infiltrate the creative space. Whatever the case, like, art is not a product, it's a piece. I want you to change that word product to a piece, because then you get to think about, oh, it is not a finished thing. It is not an end result. It is a piece. And if it's a piece of what? It's a piece of who? It's a piece of why? It's puzzling into someone else's. With the rise of AI, I'm here to explore why, as an artist, I am not afraid whatsoever of AI, and why you shouldn't be either. I want this video to be more like a pep talk, more like a different perspective, because there's a wide array of videos talking about the ramifications of artificial intelligence, talking about how AI is rotting your brain or destroying your creative potential, how it's limiting your brain and cognitive function, all of the different topics that you can think of related to AI, and breaking down how it is problematic and why we should go into extremist measures or why you should use it. There is a wide array of topics. But I wanted to insert this into the conversation, and maybe it's not that different, but it's my perspective, and I want to share that because I just haven't seen a lot of videos talking about why you shouldn't be afraid of it, why you shouldn't feel threatened by it, how it cannot replace you. Yes, I've seen videos kinda of that caliber, but I wanted to dive into it myself and share my perspective, as I said. And I also want to set the expectations. I don't want you to misinterpret what I say in this video as encouraging you to use AI, not even discouraging you to use AI. Even though I have my own opinions, that is never my motive. I never want to convince you to not use your own critical thinking skills, your own morality, and your own ethics about how you want to move in the world. I am not your deity. I am not your God, and I'm not your guru, and I do not intend to be any of those things. This is more about the scope of why I believe people are so fearful of AI, and why we believe that it can even replace us, and maybe some things that we can do in order to adapt and evolve so these things do not feel like a threat to our identity, a threat to our talent, a threat to our craft, a threat to ourselves and our livelihood and our humanity. And I just wanted to share those different things today. And so I want you to go into this expectation of, like, this is not telling you what to do. It is not telling you how to move. This is more of an internal reflection about how we look at and how we interact with AI, because just because every change happens, there's always a change. This is not going anywhere, and it's been here for a lot longer than it's been popularized. There are many things that have been here a lot longer than they've been popularized. This is ultimately to understand that this is not going anywhere. And as much as we try to fight it, as much as we want it to be gone, as much as we just want to exorcise it from the world in general, if we find a way to use AI that doesn't cause harm to ourselves, the planet, or other people, and when it is not ethically going against things that are ethically and morally sound and correct, then AI in its concept could provide fabulous opportunities for us as a collective and as a being. Unfortunately, we are just at the level and state of consciousness where our capitalistic way of looking at things, an extractive nature, and siphoning things from the environment, from the resources, from other people, those are the issues with artificial intelligence. Other than that, it is how people choose to use them. Again, the ramifications that directly cause harm to individuals or our environment are the problems with AI. I am not denying that in any way, shape, or form. That is here. And once we figure out a way, hopefully praying that we figure out a way to do that, because the essence in of itself is not going anywhere. Just like the internet, people felt the same way about the internet when it first came out. People felt the same way about cell phones. People even felt the same way about cars. Change happens, and once change is introduced, once people become adapted, once people have assimilated that change into their lives, it's less likely that it's going to go anywhere. And so when people are living in this state of fear, when you're living in a state where you're like very extremist and rigid about how you interact with things in the world, that can hold you back. Not just because you refuse to use it, because that I don't think that is the adaptability I'm talking about. I'm not talking about use or disuse. That is not adaptability. It is about recognizing what is happening in your environment, in these circumstances, and how you evolve to either exceed and transcend those things so they no longer affect you, or how to weave in and out, and seeing how you can integrate or implant yourself in the space of opportunity. Because if we look at Netflix, right? Netflix evolved from being this DVD mail by service where they send movies out to you and then you receive them in the mail, and then that's how you return them as well. And once they realized that business model wasn't working, they evolved to creating streaming. And we see how much streaming has changed not just how we engage with media like TV shows and movies. And so now people are not going towards cable as much as they normally would. And now all of the different cable platforms have had to migrate and adapt to going to streaming platforms, and then how that has changed music and how we consume music through streaming platforms, how we have the internet right now, and how streaming is actually a job and an income stream. Things change, and nobody is saying whether they're good or bad, because some of them are objectively one or the other. I'm not here to tell you which one is which. Okay, I like to be objective when I'm having these conversations so that I don't feel like I'm preaching. I just want to open up the scope of perception, because I have my own thoughts about whether objectively the streaming way we are interacting, I have my own opinions about those things, but I never want to influence anybody else's opinion. I want them to use their own critical thinking skills to determine what feels true for you and what doesn't. Leave what resonates with you and leave what doesn't resonate with you, and take the rest as a food for thought, okay? Because when I'm talking about adapting, you can see why people use AI, right? They're stressed out, they're overworked, they're burnt out, they're trying to keep up with trends, they're trying to keep up with an algorithm. It's this culture that we've created where we always feel like we have to be on the move, where we always feel like we're running out of time, where we're always feeling like we have to try to keep up. And that in and of itself is why AI is a symptom of the culture that we've created. Like capitalist industries, consumers have created a culture where things move like that. And then when people have jobs, when people have children, when people have school, when people just have too many things going on, and they need to figure out how they can diversify their income streams so they can make sure they don't fall behind, so they don't want to become irrelevant, where they don't want to fill in the blank. Especially when you feel like that there are programs out there designed to replace you, right? So when I say that I think that we should adapt, it's more than just saying, oh, I'm going to assimilate and use this thing. Oh, I'm going to give in and do what everybody else is doing. I'm going to follow the trend even more because I see that this is a thing that is happening right now. That is not what I mean by adapting. I mean saying going against what is popular, going against what is trending, interrupting the status quo in some gigantic way consistently. Yeah, I was thinking about it in the car, how it shouldn't really even be called artificial intelligence, because intelligence is intellect combined with emotions. It is something that happens inherently from your own experience, your own expression, your own evolution, your own emotions that all culminate into this soup. And then the soul wants to express it in this way. And then you get the music, then you get the art, then you get the dancing, then you get the sculptures, then you get the paints, then you get the charcoal drawings, then you get the new type of architecture. Then you get the new type of ways to garden. Then you get the new meals and the new food items. All of those things. Then you experiment, and then you try again, and then you fail, and then you have a new idea, a new vision. You want to try this imagination that belongs to humanity, and humanity alone is where we breed our intelligence from. So right off the bat, artificial cannot do that because it does not have emotions. It does not have experiences. It does not have this evolutionary process that happens from being human and experiencing things. It does not experiment. It can only mimic what has already been done. So right off the bat, it cannot replace artists because it is physically not designed to. People do it. People try, and we can tell very easily. It's not hard because it's lacking that fundamental soul aspect. So going back to where my first interaction with artificial intelligence was in college, actually, about 11 years ago. In my economy class, we were learning about robotics, we were learning about artificial intelligence, and we were learning about quantum computers and things like that. And they were saying how these things are going to be of the future and how they like augmented realities, virtual realities, they are becoming more and more prevalent as we get further and further into its evolution, as people further and further engage with it, consume it, use it. And when I was in that class, so many people were freaked out because they were like, oh my God, it's going to take my job. Oh my God, it's going to take jobs away from people. Oh my God, it's going to rule the world. And when I thought about that, because we were having a discussion about that, my initial response was like, great, they could take the jobs that are lifeless, that are frivolous, that people shouldn't actually have to do. Do you really need to bag groceries at a supermarket? No. That is not a human thing that does not create nor innovate, nor does it require any type of skill that is developed over time. I cannot imagine like an artificial intelligence or a robot attempting to go do ceramics or go learn ballet or take the time in the crunching hours. Because in high school, I went to performing arts high school. So we had to take music theory. We had to take acting for dancers because I was a dance conservatory. We had to take all of these different things and seeing how all of these different aspects of art feed the other aspects of art, how art can be interdependent, how they can be cohesive, even if they are different mediums, how they all come together and work together, even when they work separately. So when you think about this, I was like, people are so scared, unfortunately, because yes, artificial intelligence has been co-opted and corrupted because we live in a co-opted, corrupted world. Yes. But also, I think, and that brings me to my first point of the fear of being replaced. It's like, how do you devalue yourself and your humanity so much that you feel like a machine that was built by humans can replace you when another human can't even do that? Because you and me can be experiencing the same thing. We could be looking outside right now at the same tree and have a completely different reaction to it. We can have a completely different thought about it. It can inspire something quintessentially different than the other. Someone can look at that tree and be like, oh, I wonder if I can use the leaves as dye for my clothes. Another one is like, oh, I wonder if I could use that to build a house. I wonder what a paintbrush made out of tree branches would look like. I wonder how I can make these branches into a sculpture. I wonder if I can make the leaves and the branches and the soil into some type of music. A poet might write something about the trees. We all interact with the world so differently that how do you think something can replace you when another human can't even effectively copy you? Another human cannot effectively mimic you. The aspects of your brain circuitry that we don't even understand about ourselves, that scientists don't even understand, that neurologists don't even understand, physicists don't even understand, artists don't even understand this, and spiritualists don't. don't understand. So how could you program a machine to do something that you fundamentally don't understand? It's like attempting to teach someone something, and you can do it. You can move through it. You can fulfill said action, but you don't understand why it fundamentally operates that way. So you cannot teach someone else how to do it. But we have this instinctual thing happening within us. And then you think that we can always transport that to something else, and that something else will be able to replicate that just because they've studied that, just because they have some type of algorithm. That is not actually how that works. Not in order to innovate and bloom something new. It is not made for something new. So we have to go and look at ourselves and think about why we believe ourselves to be so frivolous. Especially because how often art is belittled, how creativity is seen as less than, how humanities and engaging with things that make you feel something is always put on the lowest part of the totem pole, the lowest part of value. So yes, I understand how it would be easy to belittle yourself to believe that you can be replaced by something else. Yeah, I get that. And you have to understand that belittlement was propaganda. It was so that people would not turn to the arts and more so turn to the things that capitalists could use and gain and profit off of. Art is not a stable career as they tell you, or if you love something, you should do it for free. Or it is not a stable career path, or it doesn't add anything meaningful to society. All of those were propaganda. I specifically remember being told as a child that writing was a hobby, that it was something that you do on the side, that it was a soft thing to pursue, that nobody would see value in it, even if they enjoy it and are entertained by it. They don't see value in it, which is so viscerally untrue. When people engage with TV on a daily basis, when there's a whole new industry being born or has been born about content creation as a viable industry. We listen to music on a daily basis, but then somehow we say that it's not worth anything unless someone else says so. Oh, if the machine can do it, then what use am I? Oh, if a machine can do it, then it's taking something away from me. How? How, when there are so many things you haven't created yet? There are so many ideas you haven't even had yet. There are so many experiences you haven't even gone through yet. There are so many experiments that you haven't run yet. Like there's this great quote that Richard Rudd said in one of his Gene Key transmissions. He said, his friend, I don't remember the friend's names, knows everything about the gene keys that I know. But what he doesn't know is what I don't know, because it's an experiment. It's a conversation. It is something that is forever mutating and evolving the more you interact with it. Your art is a skill. It is a craft. But once you master that craft and you go into this realm of mastery, it is now innovating and birthing new things. So it's more so like, am I replaceable? Have I turned myself into a clone? Have I conformed so much that I no longer see the value in the things that I have to say, and the perspective that I have to view things through, the lens in which I look at the world through? Am I not seeing value in the very way that I move throughout my life? And if the answer is no, you don't find value in it, that is an internal journey for you to become someone that cannot be replaceable, to have a consciousness that cannot be replicated, to keep evolving so much that people who try to copy you, the programs that they try to get to mimic you, cannot keep up with your evolution. They can keep up with your production, but can they keep up with your evolution as an artist, as a creative, as a being? Because let me tell you something, art does not come from skill. It comes from you engaging and being present in your body and your experience in order to be infiltrated with freshness to bring to the world. Like, people think that Einstein was a scientist. My man's was an artist. He was an artist of the sciences. A machine cannot replicate what Einstein did. A machine would not have been able to invent what Einstein did, and science is deemed as the be-all. The science, the technology, the engineering, the mathematics, because they seem stable. But those in and of themselves are also mutating. Everything in the world is always mutating. And if you are not mutating, you are not evolving, you are not adapting, then of course you are replaceable, because you're stuck in the place of stagnation, drifting. You are a clone of conformity. You are furniture to society. You are in a state of maintenance culture, and you're not contributing anything real. If you're not contributing anything real, if you have no gooey, ooey, slimy substance, if you not have gone through the tar and the trenches, if you are not coming out a phoenix reborn every year, honestly, then yeah, you're replaceable. You're the same person all the time. That's easy to clone and replicate. And we've begun to get so codependent on externality. Is that a word? On things outside of ourselves. Telling us how to move, telling us what to think, telling us what to do, telling us how to engage with the world, telling us what is valuable, what isn't valuable, telling us what is marketable, what isn't marketable, telling us what is viable, isn't viable. We've learned how to engage with the world before we've learned how to engage with ourselves. And so this is the first opportunity, honestly, is it's an invitation to return to yourself. If anything, when and if we get to a place where AI does not cause harm ethically, morally, and physically to the environment and to people, then imagine how many things could be taken off of our plate so that we don't have to do them. So we have time to innovate, create, and do the things that we actually enjoy. Do the things that actually enrich us as beings. Doing the things that actually make us feel fulfilled and prosperous. Coming up with solutions for all of the world problems that we have today. Coming up with patterns. Coming up how to figure out how we can create a governance that is not extractive or harmful to its general populace. So we can worry about the things that matter. If and when, hopefully when, because we're so used to having convenience. So naturally, I don't understand how we don't see this connected, is that we're used to things, used to having processed foods, used to having fast foods, used to having delivery service. So now we have things that get mailed and delivered within 2 or 3 days. We have immediate access to anybody we want to have access to, which that's a whole different conversation. But we have, everything is literally at our fingertips. And people already didn't engage really with themselves internally before we had all of those things. And now people are addicts, addicted to quick fixes, addicted to quick payoffs, addicted to quick rewards, addicted to quick solutions. And so we see these things that are obstacles and challenges, and we don't recognize the invitation that it gives to us. It's saying, yo, go inward. Yo, this thing is happening externally. So it's an invitation. If it doesn't align, like, oh, I'm not going to use that, I'm not going to do that, that does not feel ethical. It does not feel moral. It does not feel right. It does not align with my spirit. Okay, so what is the opportunity here? How can I transcend beyond that system? How can I, people are saying that it's going to replace writers, artists, blah, blah, blah. I said, it ain't going to replace me. It's not going to replace me. I've literally never had a fear of something replacing me. Oh, okay, it's taking writers' jobs. Go figure out a different way. There's always a way. And I felt a little nervous before filming this video because I don't want it to sound like hyper pretentious. I don't want it to sound disconnected, because I never said that these things were easy. I just said that they were available. And I want us to be very clear. It's like, okay, writers are like losing jobs from big corporations and big companies. Say, like, I don't want to say any specific names because I don't have specific names of what companies they're talking about. But companies that are doing that, there are still as many companies saying, oh no, we want the human writers. Oh no, we want to take risks. Oh no, we want to do it like that. Like there are publications, small indie publications. I'm thinking about Bindery right now, that they filled a huge gap in the publishing industry because they saw how and where traditional publishing was going. And they're like, this is an invitation to adapt. Oh, they're going to do this. They're going to use AI. They're going to be printing AI books. They're going to be doing this. Oh no, they're not going to amplify these types of voices. Oh no, we're going to be the space for that. Genius. So you're seeing things you don't like, and instead of becoming apathetic and hopeless about those things, how about you say, I wonder where I can innovate here. I wonder what I can do right now in order to do something that aligns with what feels better for me. How do I promote my art in a way that does this? How do I blank? What is not being said? How do I dig deeper? How do I create more meaningful things? How do I connect with people on a visceral level? What are people looking for right now? How can I represent the times right now? You know how many conversations and video essays I've talked about? I think I just uploaded a video about art and why you should create art when the world is burning down. Why? And there are so many video essays about why art doesn't reflect the times and how people are really craving that substance. They really are. They really are. It's just the mainstream discord, the mainstream muddled noise is telling us something different. We're seeing something different, but that does not make it true just because you see it the most. That's an opportunity. And so you cannot be replaced when you take the time to no longer be a clone, to no longer conform, to no longer go with the status quo. Disrupt it, represent it, be honest, authentic, and true. And that moves me on to my next point of becoming more in tune with your true power, your true identity, your emotional freedom and liberation, and understanding your humanity, honoring and understanding your humanity. We as a civilization, as a society, are so disconnected from who we are because we're told to learn the world first. We learn how the world operates. We are indoctrinated from school age, being 5 years old, maybe younger if you're in daycare. And you learn how the world works. You learn the rules. You learn the mannerisms. You learn the morality. You learn what's right and what's wrong, what box you fit in, how you are categorized, how people expect you to show up. And then you move forward with that. Like, people are like, what's the point anymore if a machine can do everything that I can do? If a machine can do everything that you can do, that is terrifying, because that means you have not tapped into the infinite nature of your being. Nobody can do everything that you can do because nobody knows everything that you can do, including yourself. You don't know everything you can do. So how could a machine know everything that you can do? And how can it do it if you don't know that you can do it? The uniqueness about being human is that you get to cultivate any identity that you want for yourself. You get to learn who you are. You get to be a fragment of divine sacred consciousness and manifest that and personify that into the world however you choose fit. You have a vision for the life that you want to live, a vision for the world that you want to live in, and then you imagine how you want to do that. I'm not going to explain it in this one, but if you want to look into Gene Key 11, it talks about the shadow of obscurity with the gift of idealism. And what is the city? Light. Gene Key 11 talks about the shadow of obscurity going into the gift of idealism and then the city and the ultimate essence of light. What does that mean? It means that when you go from obscurity, and obscurity is being able to see the world, anything that obscures your vision, anything that obscures your creativity. And actually, then we go into Gene Key 8, which has the shadow of mediocrity, which also is the obscurity of your own uniqueness and your own creativity. And this is not a lesson on the Gene Keys today. It's just somehow always infiltrating how I and like how I engage with certain topics, because they all show up. There are different archetypes that are consistently showing up in how we interact in the world, whether as an individual or as a collective. And we have strained so far because we so much fear being different. We fear change. We fear the unknown. We fear the unexpected. We fear being humiliated. We fear being ostracized or penalized or misunderstood or judged. And then we feel this shame about who we are. And we feel the shame about who we are. And not realizing that is the very thing that makes us unique. That is the very thing that cannot be mimicked. So when you dive deep and claim your power, claim who you are, empower yourself from the fundamental level of your cellular makeup, of your DNA circuitry, of all of the gifts that you have to awaken in your DNA. Do you know, fun fact, there's a whole sector of your DNA called junk DNA, and scientists who have been studying it for years have no idea what it does? That's interesting to me, because we have a whole segment of our cells, of our DNA, that has been laying dormant and asleep. What would happen if we woke it up? Who would we be? How do we do that? There is so much expanse in our being that we limit and shrink ourselves so much to being feared by this little itty bitty machine that has to be programmed by humans. So if humans have a limited scope, how can the machine have a more expansive scope than the people who created it, than the people who imagined it? It can only adapt so much. It has to have input in order to have output. We don't have to have input in order to have output. We can just have output. And we can be our own input. We don't need externalized input in order to create. We are our own externalized input. Have you ever thought about that? How you can sit in a room for days, bored out of your mind. You see nothing, interact with nothing. All you hear is your breathing and the chirping of the birds, the breeze of the wind, nothing else. You can even be in the dark, and you'll come up with something that has never been birthed in the world before, never experienced before. Originality is not dead. We just don't dig deep enough to birth that. Believe the reason we don't is because of our visceral fear of our emotions, of feeling uncomfortable, of feeling pain, whether physical, mental, or emotional. We have this deep sense of avoidance, avoiding ourselves, avoiding our suffering, avoiding our trauma, avoiding our minds, avoiding anything that causes even the tiniest speckle of discomfort in our emotional system. The slightest thing that disrupts our nervous system, we have such a small tolerance for discomfort, uncertainty, and just things that we don't understand. So we avoid them. So we discard them. So we try to distract ourselves. So we procrastinate. So we go engage in things that can give us some type of dopamine. So we reach for our phones, we reach for our substances, we reach for whatever we need to reach for in order to cope, when that is just diluting the power. Never engaging with yourself, never sitting with yourself. I was just at work and I had a whole conversation, and she said that she doesn't like reading. But actually, after about 5 minutes, we realized that it wasn't that she didn't like reading. Is that she's too addicted to being stimulated by outside sources that she can't sit still long enough to engage in reading. I've talked to so many people at my job who like crocheting, who like writing music, who like gaming, who like doing X, Y, Z, and the third. And they always say they never stick with it because they feel like they don't have the bandwidth, the capacity, the discipline, whatever other word they use, when it's really just avoiding engaging with yourself in a deeply present way, because it stirs things in you. It makes you uncomfortable. It makes you real. It makes you human. Those are the things that pluck your power from inside of you and put it into something new, put it into something fresh, putting it into something original. that cannot be mimicked or replaced. People will try. Again, I'm going to keep saying that. People will try. People will try. But let me say this, that even without having AI directly publishing books, and I can speak about books and even music, some of it, because I've seen DJs talking about how there have been like AI mixes of like DJ loops on YouTube or other platforms. And I even saw an ad for DJs to like learn how to make their own beats, but it's really the AI doing the beat for you. And I'm like, oh no, baby, I can tell, because AI just puts together something that sounds good without understanding there's intention behind any small spectacle of thing that is in a composed piece. Again, I went to a performing arts high school. I have a very deep look and appreciation for art as a whole, because I see the devotion that goes into actually creating something, the intentionality, the paying attention to the smallest incremental details that make all of the difference. And even the discord about books and publishing. And that's not even about AI books right now. That's just about books lacking substance. I saw a TikTok earlier today about what's going on with fantasy and sci-fi. Why doesn't it feel like the ones I fell in love with before? Or a video talking about classic fiction feels more real. And it's not that it feels more real. It's not that it's not what it was before. It's lacking substance, lacking empathy, lacking going beyond where you are right now, pushing yourself where you are right now. And people are asking for that. They're like, yo, where is it? Where is it? Where is the substance? This is where we find the substance in the emotions, in the experiences, in the enrichment of our daily lives. And I'm going to keep repeating those terms because those are the things. That's it. How can you fear something when they don't have those things? Because again, if you understand what fear is not I'm afraid because I'm actively being threatened. Fear is the unknown, uncertainty mixed with anxiety. Anxiety is an emotion. I feel worried about the unknown. But the thing about it is that the only difference between the fear of the unknown and a mystery is that a mystery has a little bit of curiosity. Just a little bit. So when we have fear, it's because we're walking into the unknown. We have anxiety about what could happen, what could go wrong, feeling that we're inadequate and ill-equipped to handle what's coming. But if you go into it like a mystery that's unfolding, the hidden is now being revealed. You're seeing a scope and having a new perspective. You have new parameters that you didn't have before. Now it's a mystery for you to solve. Using your imagination to expand, to illuminate, to provide light. It's this idealism that you follow. And idealism is not like, oh my God, these are sparkly, twinkly ideas. No, it's what am I moving towards? What is the intention I have behind everything that I'm creating? Why am I creating? Why am I making this art? Why am I making this specific piece? Why am I writing this specific story? Why am I writing these lyrics? Why am I using those specific words? Why this specific, whatever the case? Why? Because when you start with why, your what, your how can be mimicked, but the why will not translate. Because nobody knows why you did this specifically the way that you did it. Like people can analyze, dissect, criticize, go into it with a freaking microscopic lens and still not touch the heart of why you did something and why you did it the way that you did it. Nobody is there through your thought process, through the visceral flow state that you get into. Nobody can mimic that. Because this is a culminating energy, mentally, emotionally, physically, and a myriad of layers are happening at once, and nobody else can capture that other than us through the medium that we're using. And so what to do? The easiest way to numb the masses is to turn off the connection they have to their hearts. It's to numb them. It's to make them indifferent. It's to make them so stressed out. It's to commodify their minds. To keep them simple, to keep them saying it's not that serious, to keep them codependent on system structures, pace, products, whatever the case. Like, art is not a product, it's a piece. I want you to change that word product to a piece, because then you get to think about, oh, it is not a finished thing. It is not an end result. It is a piece. And if it's a piece of what? It's a piece of who? It's a piece of why? It's puzzling into someone else's life. How? So when you're no longer apathetic, when people are no longer apathetic, when people are no longer simple, when they're no longer numb, and they're actively creating in whatever medium that they create in. Because I'm not a fashion designer, but I would love to have more personalized clothing. I would love to see more boutiques. I don't want to buy fast fashion. I want to go to a boutique. I want to know the person who's making my clothes. I want us to have like this whole situation going on. I would love that experience of engaging with that artist that way. I would love to have more artists that do my hair in different ways. I love like all of these things that we don't consider art, but we consider fundamental art. All of these things can have substances. All of these things emote, express, expand, and enrich and experiment with our lives on a daily basis. And so it makes me very sad when I see people feeling apathetic or extremist or not seeing the opportunity or the invitation. More specifically, the invitation to go beyond the status quo that we've been used to. To disrupt the way that we've been drifting away from the substance, that we're losing the plot of creativity and art in the first place. And then another thing that I feel like is vitally important is to change the way you consume and what you consume. Because yes, we live in a capitalistic society, but the capitalists determine what to make, what to pour resources in, what to care about, based on how people consume. If you change that you no longer want to consume things that have no substance. If you review books and you give it a 5-star, but then say it has no substance, then why did you give it a 5-star? Oh, it's just a good time. Stop turning your brain off. Encourage other people to stop turning their brain off. Advocate. Be that person. And if nothing else, be the person. Create the things that you want to see more of. And stop making excuses as to why you can't. And so to close out this video, you should not be afraid of AI. I think I made that abundantly clear. There is literally nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to be fearful of. You can be apprehensive. You can tread with trepidation. You can be aware. But all of those are just invitations for you to go in a different direction, for you to try something new, for you to experiment. Because if you make something out of thin air and that's never been created before, like I really smell a renaissance coming. I feel like this is Renaissance era time. Like this feels like prime Renaissance, like everything that's happening and has been happening for the last, I want to say almost 10 years, 9 years really. Feels like prime stepping stones to another art renaissance. Like the other day I was just looking up like what steps happened before like the different Renaissance period of art in the different eras. Like what moved these things in art in a different era? Because we learned about it in one of my art studies, like art history classes, I think in the spring semester that I was taking. But I wanted to go more into it because I wanted to think about like what were the actual steps that created these Renaissance era, and everything is happening. Governmental, whatever, I don't even know the word to call it, to be honest. But like the wars, the vast change in culture, the rise in technology, the dystopian way that the world is operating right now, societal issues, all of these things feel like a prime ground for a renaissance to come on. I don't know. I wonder what they would name this Renaissance era. And I'm very excited to see what people can come up with once they realize that this is an invitation to evolve, enrich, adapt, experiment, express, emote, regain connection to your authenticity, break free of the conformity and the trends, and really mingle with that fear of uncertainty, mingle with the fear of the unknown, mingle with the shaky grounds that we're on right now, because that allows you to think beyond what exists right now. You need to be a dreamer. You need to be an idealist. You need to see beyond what's tried and what's true. Challenge your imagination to go to stretch to lengths and heights that it hasn't before. Allow yourself to drown in the confusion and the sandstorm of your imagination in ways that it hasn't before. Like, we need to step away from the sense of rigidity and how we interact with our craft, with the world, with ourselves, really. Because once we do that, I'm just like, then you can't really have a conversation about AI stealing anything from you, because it can't steal what hasn't happened yet, what hasn't been made yet. It can't steal your emotions. It can't steal your reaction. It can't steal your perception, your viewpoint, your lens, your medium, your thought process, the questions that you have, your consciousness, your soul, the very essence, fundamentally, quintessentially of your being. So thank you so much for coming to the end of this video. I'm really glad I filmed it, even though I was a little nervous about the topic, because honestly it's covered so much, and I was just like, I don't know if I'm really adding anything to the conversation, and I wouldn't know until I tried. And it's a video idea that kept coming up again and again and again for me. So thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. Please leave a comment down below if you made it to the end. Use a little whatever emoji makes you happy. I can't think of one off the top of my head. Please leave a comment about what you have enjoyed most from this video, and please subscribe. I am a small channel, so like all of those little interactions, not only do they mean a lot to me, knowing that I'm engaging with people beyond the lens of my camera, but also it helps really expand and evolve and emote and grow my channel as well, in order to connect to the people that are meant to be here on this channel with me. So again, my name is Ashia. Hope to see you guys in my next video. Have a great day. Bye.